people of the internet. My name's Rachel. I'm actually a human being health coach, but today I'm going to show you how to use your Instant Pot to do meal prep for your dog. As a little side note, by the way, my little guy has prostate cancer. So he's on palliative care, and one of the things that we are doing to extend his life as long as possible is that I am making his food. And the recipe and the proportions and the supplements in here are coming from my vet. So for you, please work with your vet to see what kind of meal plan your dog should have and what nutrients. And I think it's a good idea to make your dog's food regardless, but this is very specific to my little guy and his needs. So let me show you how I do it. All right, so one of the ingredients that I have besides the meat, which we'll get to in a second, is going to be sweet potatoes. I use the Instant Pot to cook the sweet potatoes instead of baking them. This, by the way, all came out of learning that he had cancer during the summer, and I did not want to turn on the oven. So it's also nice because you don't have to babysit it. I have put in the trivet, which is what the sweet potatoes are going to sit on. And I'm going to put in a cup of water. And for anyone who is new to Instant Pot, you have to have at least a cup of liquid for it to pressure cook. So now I'm putting in two fairly sizable sweet potatoes. And because of how big they are, I think I'm gonna set the time for 40 minutes to make sure that they cook all the way through. So you put in the trivet, you put in a cup of water, and you can put in your sweet potatoes for that. And so I'm just going to put it on sealing, which is all the way to the right. By the way, my Instant Pot is a bit elderly, so it sometimes is a little persnickety, but I'm not willing to give up on it yet. So I'm going to set the time to 40 minutes, and it's going to take a little bit for the pressure to come up on this. But, 40 minutes and I can go do other things, which if you can hear what's going on in the background, I'm doing laundry. Okay, so we'll flash forward after that's done and I'll show you what happened. Okie dokie, so I had some breakfast, I switched the laundry, and the sweet potatoes should be done. It's been done for about 3 minutes. I don't know if you can actually see the reader here, but we're gonna do a manual pressure release. That's what she said. And then I'm gonna move on to the next step, which is cooking the meat. But the sweet potato in this version of it needs to completely cool. So I'm going to put it in one of these to let it cool so I can peel the skin, because the skin isn't included in the recipe. So here we go. I'm just gonna go ahead and hit cancel on this, and then here we go. Little Mount Vesuvius. Okay, the pressure is off, and so I can open this now. By the way, did you know that this just goes right here? My sister-in-law taught me that trick, and it is amazing. So I'm just gonna scooch this over you so you can see, like, these are some well-cooked sweet potatoes, which is what we want. And when we put it in the recipe, it's gonna be cooled. So I'm just gonna take my handy-dandy little tongs of doom, and I'm going to move that to the sieve. This one's really fallen apart, which is not a problem. Should be nice and mushy for dog food. And I'm gonna take out the trivet, hose out the liner, the pot bottom. You know the word I mean. And then I am going to get it set up for meat. Okay, hopefully you can see this all right. The skin just pulls right off. So that's one of the great things about cooking in the Instant Pot and steaming instead of baking, is it just falls right off. And the recipe calls for a baked potato, but this works really well. So there you go. You just have to separate that and let it cool. Okie dokie, so let's get to the meat part. By the way, I have to say that I learned how to do this from somebody else on the internet. I wasn't quite sure how to cook massive amounts of turkey without a lot of extra stuff. And I will say that I buy my turkey from Costco. That seems to be the cheapest source of it, and this is 93% lean. 85% you can get in bulk other places, but I've yet to find a place based on where I live, which is in Southern California. So if you have a tip on that, I would love to hear it. But I generally buy 2 of these packages, and they're 4 each, and they're 1.7 pounds. I utilize my freezer, so these are actually defrosted from last time. What I'm going to be showing you basically is about a week at a time. You can put up to 4 of these, but it's right at the top of the max. So I'm showing you with 3 because 3 is what I have left, and I'm basically cooking a week's worth. I do 2 weeks worth when I do this for realsies, I guess. And then I measure a week at a time and then divide them, but we'll get to that. Okay, so the first thing that you're gonna wanna do is actually, you need to spray a little bit of oil. So I use avocado oil because it has a high smoke point, because it gets quite hot in here and you don't want your meat to stick. So I just sprayed around some avocado oil. And then, because remember our rule, you need to have at least a cup of water. I'm gonna put my cup of water in there, and because I do not like the sensation of meat underneath my nails, I wear meal prep gloves to do this. But basically, you're gonna take your meat and you're just gonna plop it in there. There's no trivet in there, there's nothing. And we're gonna break it up a little bit, so it's not just one big wood, although it will wind up being one big wood, just so you know. But we'll get to that and how I personally break it up in a second. So this is the second of these, and I'm gonna put in a third. And like I said, you can put up to 4 in here. And here goes the last one. Okay. By the way, this is not an ad for any of the products I use. I'm just showing you how you can use your Instant Pot to make pet meal prep a lot easier. Okay, so everything's in there, and I'm just gonna kind of break it up. Usually I use a spoon, but I didn't bring one over, let's just be honest. So I'm just sort of mushing it up so it's more distributed. Getting the meat off my hands and getting rid of the meal prep gloves, and I will move the camera so you can see this. Okay, so what's going on in here? It just basically looks like that. And we're gonna set it for 25 minutes, pressure cook, and obviously my sweet potato is cooling. We also do mushrooms in this, but you don't use the Instant Pot for mushrooms. Basically what you do, I'm just letting you know, is you wash them, you de-stem them, and then you plop them in boiling water for 5 minutes, and when they're done, you drain them. And what I do is I put them in a little blender. I have an immersion blender thing that's like 3-in-1, so I just put it in here, grind it up, and measure it from here. But mushrooms, because sometimes mushrooms can be a hard sell with dogs. Heck, sometimes it's a hard sell with people. They're really good for you. Okay, so I'm gonna set this for 25 minutes and we'll come back when that's done. So while I'm waiting for the Instant Pot to cook the meat, I have measured out the sweet potato and mushroom. This is what I told you, that I grind up the mushrooms to make them nice and soft, although that one looks like it got away from me. So this is how I do it. And there was a little bit of sweet potato left over, so I'm going to freeze that. That's going in the freezer for next time. So this is my 2-week section of sweet potato and of mushroom. Hey, Snakes, wanna go for a walk? What? Yeah, okay. Are you excited about meal prep? Yeah. Okay, while we were away, I took the dog for a walk, talked to my parents, and I pre-measured the sweet potato and the mushrooms and the salt and some of the oil. So it's sitting over here in a meal prep container ready to go. So this is the salt and the sweet potato and mushroom waiting. And then I have in a little container, I have the oil. There's 2 different kinds of oil, and one needs to be refrigerated, the other doesn't. So the one that doesn't need to be refrigerated, I have preset. Okay, so the meat has finished cooking. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the manual pressure release. I'm gonna hit cancel on this. So it's been kind of sitting there for about 15 minutes. It is not going to be pretty when I open this up, so I'm going to let you know, but really all it is cooked meat. So there's really nothing on it besides the little bit of avocado oil that I use so it wouldn't get stuck. Okay, so here we go. This is what it looks like when it comes out. It's just kind of like a meat pie or a meat cake. I have this little tool to break it up, but I have found that it makes more sense to break it up once it's in the sieve. So yes, I'm going to basically dump everything in here into the same sieve that I used previously on the sweet potato. So let me do that. I'm not sure how cinematographic this will be, so I'm probably just gonna do this as a one-off here. So here we go. Protect your fingers. And there we are. Now there's going to be stuff on the bottom here, just sort of scrape it off, and you can see why it's important to use the oil. And that's what it looks like, and I'm going to use that little tool to break it up so it's not like a meat pie. Okay, I have scraped out the little bits from the Instant Pot. And what I would do is I would spray the Instant Pot, put in that cup of water, and do another round while this is cooking, while I'm putting together 1 week. So this is for 1 week's worth of food, and I'm just sort of breaking it up and also getting out the extra liquid by doing it in here. So this is a lot of trial and error that I figured out how to do this, by the way. So I keep mushing this up till this becomes more of a ground turkey looking thing, and you can see it's already starting to happen. Okay, so it's not really chunks. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put everything together in a big bowl and mix, and then we're gonna measure and separate and put into these plastic baggies that I then freeze. Again, I usually do 2 weeks at a time, and you wouldn't want 2 weeks just sitting in your fridge. You wouldn't have 2 weeks of cooked food in your, it wouldn't last for 2 weeks. So I sort of rotate it with freezing. So let's fast forward and I will show you what that looks like. All right, so now it's time to start putting everything together. According to the recipe that my vet developed for my dog, for a week's worth of food, he needs 1,519 grams of cooked ground turkey. I have some frozen ground turkey that I've defrosted that I cooked from before, so this is like overage on another one. So I'm gonna plop that in first, to rotate food. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna start putting in the new food that I just made on top of that until we get to 1519. And by the way, you can't see this, but Snickers is right below because he really likes his food, by the way. What's not to like? It's homemade food for him. All right, we're getting close. Okay, so we are a little over. We are at 1537, so I'm going to start putting some back. Oops. $15.19. There we go. So $15.19. This will get put in a baggie and frozen for the next round, or in this case, because I will make another week's worth after this, you'll see that there. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plop in, and I'm just going to turn this off because we don't need this anymore. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plop in the stuff that I pre-measured from before. That goes in there. Probably should have grabbed a spatula on this one. And then I would just use my little meat thingy to break it up to make sure it gets mixed. And I'm gonna put in the oils here in just a second, and then the Balance It, which is the supplement for the things that aren't in here. My vet gave me the proportions of everything that I need, but I believe you can go to the Balance It website and put in your information, and it will help you generate a recipe. All right, so I have the Balance It in there, and now I'm putting in the 2 different oils that I have measured in there right now. And then I am just gonna have a good time grinding this up. So for those of you who can afford something like the Farmer's Dog, that's great. There are other options besides this. My vet did give me another option of a supplement that's very complete, that all you needed to do is add the protein. But because I do, nutrition counseling for humans and I do meal prep myself, practice what you preach, I opted to do this. So now what we would do after this gets fully mixed and, make sure everything's sort of all the way through, is I would divide this evenly into 14 servings. So a week's worth, because he gets breakfast and he gets dinner. And then what it does is it goes in the freezer, and basically I have 3 days worth of food at any given time in the refrigerator that I just let thaw naturally. By the way, I don't reheat it because I use the regular Balance It, not the, I think it's called Balance It Plus or something, which means that you can cook it twice. He just has it basically at refrigerated temperature, and he likes it that way. If you want to make the food warm, you have to make sure that you get the Balance It Plus, which can withstand reheating. But this is basically, it's just one shot at making it warm, which is fine for us. It works. So, okay, so basically that's it. And what I do is I wash out these bags that I got. So I'm not, killing the environment as much, although I do appreciate that I'm still using plastics. And it becomes this. And this is from my fridge. So this will be his breakfast and dinner for another day. But yeah, it's great because it sort of naturally defrosts in the refrigerator when I rotate it. So there you go. I have a very happy boy, all things considered, having cancer. Cancer sucks. But I do know once my heart heals and I'm ready for another dog, I have figured out how to do meal prep for my pets, and I think it's better. And it's not that hard. It does take a couple hours. So anyway, good luck with your own journey. And if you have a hack that I'm not doing, please let me know. I'd love to hear it.